Hello, party people, and welcome to a new live episode of Off the Rack. I am your host, Sal, and normally I'm joined today by my lovely and talented co-host slash life co-host, Tiffany, but she's not feeling well, so it's just going to be me today, and it's going to be a little shorter of an episode, but that is a unique opportunity for you out there who are watching the show live, like you should be every Monday evening, Eastern Standard Time, between 5:30 and 6 p.m. You can sponsor today's show by using Super Chats, ask a question or comment. We'll read it here on the show, and it'll be part of it forever. And for an exclusive, one-time, hopefully ever period, you'll be the second host of the show. So we're going to hear from you and me about some books that came out this week. Now, there were quite a few books that were Tiffany-centric. Immortal X-Men, I want to say Damn Them All, a number of books that Tiffany likes, Gargoyles, and et al. But those will be obviously tabled for another time. But there's a few that I covered, and I'm going to be talking about them, and we're going to see how this goes. If it works out, who knows? Maybe there'll be another solo Sal show that I can make 3 episodes of and then ignore forever. Of course, this is a show where we talk about news and reviews. So before we get into the comics, we are going to be talking about a little bit of news that came out of the comic book world today. The first of which, I think the one that I'm planning on talking about today, is the fact that Tom Brevoort is being moved from the Avengers campus, so to speak, of Marvel Comics to the X-Men place of Marvel Comics. Some are speculating that it might be an indication that Marvel is planning to make moves to make X-Men more of a household name, make a bigger push for the X-Men, which I would argue they did in 2019 when Hox and Pox launched and became this sprawling, interconnected epic that brought in superstar writers and artists. X-Men has arguably never looked better consistently across multiple titles than it has during the Krakoa era. It has never felt more cohesive, I would say. And you're talking to somebody who remembers back in the day when there was X-Factor, X-Force, X-Men, Gold and Blue, and all these different titles, and they were all doing Executioner songs and Mutant Massacres, etc. I don't know what that means to suggest that they're doing a bigger push for X-Men. So while that, for me, is more of a editorialization of the Tom Brevoort news, I think that it is a good indication that Marvel is looking to make X-Men more ubiquitous with Marvel Comics, to make bigger moves, to make the X-Men kind of what they were in the 90s. And what that essentially means, hopefully, if we can divorce it from what the kind of like baggage of that sentence means, we can say that when the X-Men was at its peak in the 90s, and in fact, we have like a poster or two of classic X-Men here, and this one's the one I want to think about specifically. This is actually a fold-out poster that came with, I believe, the first issue of X-Men from Claremont and Lee, and is still the highest-selling Marvel comic ever made, but also, I think, one of the highest-selling big 2 books ever printed. But in there, it is Jim Lee art. It showcases every X-Man that was as close to being the most popular of that time, and a little point there says, "And the best is yet to come." And I would argue that was kind of the best in that decade, and it never really got better until the next decade when things got more complicated and a little bit more nuanced. I think like when Grant Morrison showed up and like kind of infused life into it, although I really like the Whedon era and a couple of other periods in that time. I'm not suggesting that the Lee period of X-Men was better than like the Louise Simonson period, but I'm just saying, like it never got bigger than when it was looking like that. And so perhaps because Brevoort was around back then and remembers that era, that we are going to see a return to X-Men and Marvel not being these kind of weird, disparate, separate brands that are housed under the same umbrella, but rather that we're going to see a meshing, that we could see something not akin to X-Men versus Avengers, but rather something more in tune with the X-Men bleeding over into more titles. I think that one of the books we're talking about this week, Amazing Spider-Man number 31, is a good indication that maybe we're seeing it already, because there is a little bit of a a weird, curious crossover that we had sparked some controversy recently regarding Kamala Khan. Not just her changing of the power guard, but also how we got there and how why did that happen? Why did it happen in that book? Why is that happening to her here? We get a little bit of a payoff in that issue, and we'll talk more about that specifically in a minute. But maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it could be a little indication like we're going to see the X-Men pop up everywhere. And maybe it's okay for the X-Men and Spider-Man, the X-Men and the Avengers, the X-Men and anyone to bump elbows and become a kind of like, here is what the Marvel Universe looks like or could look like. Again, all it means is that like Brevoort's going to oversee the X-Men line. That's what does that mean? Honestly, I didn't even know Brevoort was overseeing the Avengers line. So is that an indication that, you know, the Avengers of the Aaron Avengersification of that brand is going to happen to X-Men? Surely not, because Jason Aaron is writing a Batman book and may in fact be heading over to doing maybe the Justice League. We'll see. But that's a story for another time. I am, by the way, excited to see a Jason Aaron Batman book, especially a kind of like mini series that's divorced from the main Batman title. Because I loved his Punisher series and I enjoy his solo character runs. I think that Aaron is more suited for those kind of like character deconstructions. And I don't know if I've ever read a Jason Aaron Bat book before. So that'll be cool to see. But yeah, so Brevoort being on X-Men, does it matter? Certainly it makes the headlines and it helps people out to make stories out of nothing. I should admit, though, that Brevoort was apparently overseeing the Avengers during a period when I actually gave a rat's ass about the Avengers, which of course would include the New Avengers and the Civil War era, which I think theoretically or technically was a Avengers event. I would call it a Marvel Comics event, but yeah, I guess since X-Men did kind of play roles, but not to any extent that it affected all of the X-Men, yeah, I'd say it's probably an Avengers event. But yeah, so let's jump into a couple of super chats before we get moving on to the books. Trash Cam, for example, first. It's true, you were first. Love y'all, ComicPop crew. Thank you, Trash Cam. I'll take that love on behalf of the entire crew, not just myself, but also, of course, my incredible and intrepid invisible co-host Tiffany, who will be here next time. But for now, is nursing a bad case of. She was on vacation, and so was I, for that matter. You may see some rosiness in my cheeks, but she's just recovering, and she'll be right as rain before you know it. Charzy, did you see Spider-Man Lotus this weekend? If so, what are your thoughts? Personally, the suit and swing sequences were the best bits, and everything else was unfortunately quite boring. If you've never heard of Spider-Man Lotus, there was this like long standing kind of rumor about a big kind of true to form, more accurate than any other media Spider-Man fan film that was in development with like high-end special effects and acting and cinematography, etc. Then fell into a web of controversy of its for itself, which included, I think, directors and actors saying incredibly racist things, and people who have more to say about that have receipts and can cite those sources. And I don't want to jump into it too deeply here, but I will say that I only saw references to it through the lens of making fun of it because people closely associated with the movie were racists, but also that the special effects team that worked on it doesn't deserve to not have their work seen. And so I think they shared the Spider-Man swinging sequences divorced from the movie, which is the way to watch the movie. But also, they're fan films. And, it's tough with fan films. Certainly I felt motivated to make them myself, being that, we have a studio here. I am a nerd. We have, more ubiquitous access to movie-esque technology than ever before. So the time to make there's no better time to make fan films than now. I don't really watch a lot of them. I've seen a few. I actually, one of my co-hosts over on another channel, Only Stupid Answers, DJ Woolridge, made a fan film, I believe, about Superboy, because I remember vividly that Tana Moon was cast in that one. But yeah, I don't really watch a lot of fan films, and I don't put a lot of stock in them. I can imagine even the greatest amount, the best fan film in the world, might get you certainly clicks, but it's not going to get you a seat at the table. It's not like the fan fiction community, which we do have examples of fan fiction that has been turned into novels that have been turned into movies, and how full careers have been made from just doing some erotica fan fiction and then turning it into your own thing. I would say that if you have the budget, the time, the effort, the resources into doing a whole ass Spider-Man fan film that's like an hour and a half, maybe your resources would be better suited to making your own movie. Though I will admit that the Lotus suit looked good, and the swinging sequence was cool, and the orchestral version of the 90s theme was pretty fire. 60-second comic facts. Hey, Sal, hope the vacation was fun. It was. I had a fantastic time. So did my team. There was a moment where all of ComicPop was in one location on a beach. Can't argue with that. Danvy 900. I'm not sure if you read it, but the Enfield Gang Massacre #1 was awesome and pretty easily my favorite issue of last week. Jacob Phillips' art is so much like his dad's, and it's fantastic Western noir comic. No, never even heard of it. So I'm glad you dig it, and I'll give it a glance. Why not, right? Anyway, let's jump into a couple books. Why don't we talk about books? I guess the first book we should talk about is Superman 2023 Annual #1, I guess, from a list of artists, but written by Joshua Williamson, including Mahmoud Asrar, Jackson Herbert, Caitlin Varsky, Max Rayner, Edwin Galman, and more. It's a 48-page issue that only sold for $6, and it is a really fun issue that kind of like gives Lois Lane center stage for the most part. It is very much a Superman annual. You will actually find on the most recent episode of All Stars with Joshua Williamson, which airs tomorrow, so you should definitely check out that episode tomorrow. I believe he talks a little bit about that either this episode or the previous episode, the episode that's dropping tomorrow, or the episode that dropped a few weeks ago. But talked about how this is very much a Superman without Superman book, where Superman is felt in every page, even if he doesn't appear in every panel. And I always love these kind of issues because it really just highlights the strength of the supporting cast. This is the kind of thing that I would like to see from a Spider-Man comic, where we really focus on those side characters or those prominent supporting characters and see where they're going. Actually, it's funny because the latest Amazing Spider-Man does a very similar thing where it also acts as an annual and has segments that focus entirely on supporting cast members, yet doesn't succeed as well as this. This is a really fun issue. Watching Lois Lane be editor-in-chief of the Daily Planet and execute how she would do it, and watching the ripple effect of that on more supporting cast members and making the Daily Planet feel like a character in a sense, or at least a well-utilized location. You can't help but draw parallels between Spider-Man and Superman, especially when it comes to like the fact that they're both directly connected to newspaper publishers. But I really like the use of Daily Planet in here, and I like the use of Lois in this, and I think it's a really fun issue. We do focus on a couple of moments throughout. We get to see what happened, what becomes of Livewire, teased in previous issues of this run, which you definitely should have been reading by now. Jamal Campbell's art is fantastic, if not also supported by some wonderful writing by Williamson. But we see what happens to Livewire. We teased a little bit about some unexpected member of the Superman cast joining the Daily Planet. Find out some payoff from that in this issue. We see some Parasite action. We get to see Supercore and a lot of other fun stuff. It's a really, really fun issue, and I don't think it breaks the bank. It's also a nice indication of like what Dawn of DC means for Superman. So if you haven't already, you should definitely check out Superman Annual number 2020 or Superman Annual 2023. They don't even number them anymore because they have to be indicated to the years from which they are released. But highly recommend. I do enjoy it. Between these issues, I will also chat it up with Arduit, who says, "Comic Pop woo to you too. Hyped for the future of X-Men. Interested to see where the Children of the Vault story goes. Was cool to see Cable and Bishop team up. Yeah, as I understand it, Bishop and Cable hate each other." And that's a holdover, but we see them work together to deal with a common issue. I can't say that I've read that issue, but I can say that I've seen it because it was spoiled for me on various internet message boards that people traffic. I cite r/comic books. Lady Laserdiscs. Hey Sal, just wanted to throw some support your way. Thank you very much, Laserdiscs. We do appreciate it. Currently watching Saw. Meh. I should have stayed for the live. Well, that's okay. I appreciate you being here, man. Saw, I have seen Saw, and I can say that for what it's trying to accomplish, that first one, I think it succeeds marvelously. I think that movie is. It's no surprise that it has become a franchise. I don't know if it's become a franchise that can support spinoffs, but that first movie, not bad. Jackson Boyd, whatever happened to Wake Up with Comic Pop? I enjoyed hearing your opinions on news and media. Obviously, is your decision, but I always wondered. Well, I'll be happy to answer that question for you. And any other questions that may arise during this live stream. But I will say that we had this show, Wake Up with Comic Pop. I had this idea, a comic pop or comic book centric morning commuter show. And it still exists. I think we have 7 episodes. I'm not sure, maybe 4. But I had this idea. I sat down and I wrote a couple of segments and then just started recording them. And then I found that I was blowing out my voice by recording 2-hour-long episodes of Back Issues on Wednesdays, recording morning sessions with Benny and folk over at Absolute Comics, and Elseworlds Exchange on Fridays, and Absolute Comics on Tuesday. I'm podcasting every day, 5 days a week. And not only was that too much, and also we'd have to double dip sometimes. So I got the Josh show. I've got my interviews that I do occasionally. I also have the DJ shows like Spider-Versity and the X-Men Mutant Academy series we have over on Only Stupid Answers, which you haven't seen already. You should, because it's me and DJ watching X-Men movies. The next one coming up, by the way, is I think Days of Future Past. No, it's First Class. So you can check out the previous run. We're going in chronological order of release. So we did a kind of Patreon only episode called it was the Pride of the X-Men pilot movie from animation. Then we started with X-Men, X2, X3, X-Men Origins Wolverine, and we're heading into First Class territory. So we've already stumbled twice in the X-Men franchise. It's fun to talk about, and it's fun to watch, hopefully. But doing all of these shows, I was surprised. I thought I could talk forever, but it turns out it eventually my voice gives out. And I was like, I can't, if I don't have a voice to do Wake Up with Comic Pop, it's a shame. It was well liked on this channel, ComicPop Returns, but if I can't do back issues, I can't pay the bills. And I need to keep my voice alive. And I went to the doctor. It was such an issue that I literally made an appointment with the doctor, and the doctor was no help whatsoever. But that was enough of a wake up call for me to cool it a little bit. But I would like to bring it back, but I also found that I was really stretching with topics, and even if it was once a week. So I don't know if I can keep it up. And that's really the problem with most of the shows on Comic Pop, where I'm like, I got this great idea for a show, so I guess I'll host it. And anybody else wanted to, okay, so I'll host it. And it's I can't host everything. So anyway, John Kata, I just wanted to say I love what you and the guys do here, so thank you for that. Quick question: what do we have to do to get No Man's Land on the couch? Thank you very much, John. I will extend your thanks and appreciation to the rest of the crew. You don't have to do anything, man. Just wait. Just hang in there. Subscribe, like the videos, and hang in there. No Man's Land is an inevitability. Obviously, it's a foregone conclusion. Just like Batman Odyssey or Dark Crisis, books that are big enough where it has a huge cult following. Obviously, we're going to cover those books on the show. It's just a question of when. And do I have enough time to prep? Because it's yeah, I've read No Man's Land. Can I do it from memory? Probably not, because there are so many working parts. I give you the gist of it, but that's not anything. It makes me actually want to go back, because we did the same thing with Nightfall and Hush, etc. And I was like, wouldn't it be cool to kind of like do those again, but more in depth, like make a 3-hour Nightfall episode? So these are the kind of things that I'm thinking about, and No Man's Land is among those, those ideas. So hang in there. Nikhil Kapoor says, "Hey Sal, reading Frank Miller and Klaus Jansson's run on Daredevil, and I'm enjoying it immensely. My first Daredevil trade, and it's a good one. You are in for a treat, my friend. That's a good run. If you haven't already, you should also check out not only just Daredevil Born Again, but The Man Without Fear. Fantastic miniseries. John Romita Jr. on art. But it's Daredevil Year One. It's just a straight up dope series. And if you can, right now I think it's actually out in Epic Collection. So you can just get that, no problem. It's on the shelves in your local comic book store right now or on Amazon. But if you can get it in floppy, you'll get gorgeous covers. Dex Baker says, Sal, I have a rare friend that I decided to get into comics on his own recently. But last week he came to me about Spider-Man. He wanted to know who Paul was and why people hated him. I mean, it's a tough call when you are the arbiter of the comic book industry for newcomers. The best thing that I would recommend with that kind of thing is just to be as open and unbiased as possible. Paul is a new character that was created by Zeb Wells, who was made specifically to be a love interest for Mary Jane, and further cement the fact that Spider-Man and Mary Jane aren't related or married anymore, and people don't like him for that reason alone, but also because he was mean to our protagonist. So that's another big strike against him. And he has no discernible personality. So that's like it's like they did it for no good reason. And you just go from there if you want to really kind of swing it. But you just got to be honest and unbiased, or as much as unbiased as possible. Like, here's why I don't like Paul. Or Paul is a new character who was invented to establish that Pete and Mary Jane are never going to get back together. It has its own baggage as a result of that. Now I'll tell you what I think about it, if you care. So it's a tough call. And LT3 throwing some coins in that comic pot. Ha, nice. Did you see they're making a TMNT Last Ronin game? Also, what are your hopes for the Batman Off-World book? I'll answer the last question first. I am hopeful that book is good. I don't know who's drawing it. I didn't remember who they said was going to draw it, although I did see a press release or something about it. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be dope. As for the TMNT Last Ronin video game, I can't believe they're making one. You know what I mean? Like, it's incredible that it came this fast. Like, it feels like it came kind of like out of nowhere, but also that it came so quickly on the heels of Last Ronin. But at the same time, Last Ronin isn't really that recent. We're already working on a sequel. We're getting a kind of like, we had that complimentary series that came out, and I think just wrapped up. But yeah, I think it's going to be really cool. I haven't seen anything, I haven't seen, I don't know the studio that made it. And I don't, I haven't seen any like actual, what's it called? Like, I haven't seen any animatics or art for it, but my concern is Last Ronin enough? Like, is it big enough for it to sustain its own video game? How are you going to handle the mechanics of the turtles being, ghostly spectral assistants? Are they going to be tutorials? Are they going to be, support characters? Like, what's the idea there? Is it going to be just a straight up adaptation of the comic book? I mean, that makes sense, but like, thank you very much. By the way, Doug Mankey's doing the art. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to friggin' read that book. Doesn't that sound dope? Like, I'm excited for that. So yeah, I as far as Last Ronin, like, I'm definitely going to check it out. Unless it's a top-down strategy-based game, in which case I will not be reading or playing that game. But yeah, man. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
I'm glad to be here.
Do you want to illustrate why we're in this situation, or do you just want to kind of like move on?
No, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Like, I think it's not a secret that, like,
No, I don't know.
I'm not athletic at all. Like, I'm just not, and I don't take care of that muscle stuff at all. And like, I really should, because I also like swimming in the ocean. And then when the ocean beats you up, it like really hurts your muscles so much so that like you can't walk upright.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so yay. Yeah, a little wake up call. Gotta, work on that.
Yeah.
Apparently core is important.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true.
Oops. So,
Um,
it's all good, but I had such a good time. And even though like yesterday I was like, I probably shouldn't do this, I did it anyway. And today my body said, hey, that was a mistake. But yeah, so I
fair.
appreciate it. I was like, you're like, no, I'm gonna take care of this. And then I was like, I feel bad. So I
Well,
was like, I could
I
show up
appreciate
for
you
a
jumping
few
in.
books and then,
I know you're
I'm gonna
here
go back
now.
to Switchland.
Yeah, you'll do that when the show's over. But
Okay.
I should also mention that at Superman Annual #1, there's also an indication that I will admit I knew about before it came out, and it involves Lobo, and I love this idea so much. The idea that before Zarnia was destroyed by Lobo, Brainiac took a city.
Oh yeah, why not? The bottle
City of
city
Lobo.
of Lobo. Yeah, great.
Yeah, City of Lobo. There's City of Zarnia, but like City of Lobo.
Yeah,
I'm
and then
so excited for that.
right. Oh, okay, so that's right. Lobo is like the most obnoxious of all of the Zarnians, right?
Yes, 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 he
Okay.
is.
'Cause, like, if
Okay, so he always was. He was always an aberration.
right.
I think, based on what we're seeing in the latest issue of Superman 2023 Annual, that this may be an explanation for why Lobo is such a bastich in his own vernacular.
Mm-mm.
So I would keep your eyes peeled for City of Lobo.
Well, I
It'd
was
be
gonna
fun.
say, like, I could imagine if they were all that obnoxious, that Brainiac would just have ejected it and been like, "Well,
Well, it could be
I can't
maybe
with
that's
this."
why Brainiac never brought it up before.
Right. He was like, "That was a mistake." Candor, good idea. This
Yes.
is listen, we all get to have a bad day. All right.
Yeah. I also like the fact that he apparently has Doomsday dogs. They are just like terror dogs, but made of Doomsday, and I'm like,
And they have
well,
kryptonite collars and
he does no. They're just Doom. If Doomsday were 2 dogs, and I'm like, Doomsday dogs. No notes. Keep going. Please write more.
Okay.
Jasperetti, thank you for your support. We do appreciate it. Charzy, are there any plans to do a ranking stream on all the Batman suits in comics, similar to the Wolverine cap streams? Would love to hear your opinions. Of course, makes the most sense to me. I don't think I'm gonna blow the wad of Batman that quickly, but like, yeah,
Wow.
you can expect that. And Hayden Hamilton, my 3 comics I push on people: Gotham Year One, Wonder Woman Dead Earth, and Spider-Man Life Story. Then I'm always pushing Nightwing and Bruno's art. Yep, Nightwing's great. Obviously, those 3 books are hugely not only beloved but also successful episodes of back issues, and we definitely support those books as well. So yeah, what do you got, Tiffany?
I wanted to at least talk about a couple of books that came out. One of them was not Children of the Atom. That was I just didn't get a chance, and I'll be honest with you. The Children of the Atom.
Children of the Vault, right?
Children of the Vault, sorry. Children of the Vault frustrates me simply because of like their inevitability.
Yeah.
It's like it's frustrating and scary. That doesn't mean I'm not going to read it. It just I was like, I really wanted to prioritize a couple of other books. And like I said, I was only going to be around for a few issues today. So let's talk about Fall of X, Immortal X-Men.
Number 14.
Yeah, because obviously Kieran Gill and Lucas Warnock on art. What a great freaking issue. I mean,
what a shock.
It's just like, it's like, hey, like Xavier's on Krakoa, right? And also let's talk about Sebastian Shaw and how like he's just a bastard. Like he's just a dick, right? Makes a deal with Mother Righteous, helps get Selene on the council, and now he's looking for his payday, but Orcus isn't going to give him his payday until he's not a mutant anymore. And so he injects himself with a serum to ensure that he's not a mutant any longer. And he's like, that's fine. He's like, I was never really a mutant anyway. Like, I just had the X gene. Who cares? Like, I don't care.
So is this different from the gun that Moira gets shot with?
It wasn't like a little like syringe thing. There was like, here you go, not a mutant anymore. Done.
Is that easy to do? I didn't realize that you could just do that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe it's a chip like they had for the maybe they control him. It's the point is it's not like it's just like whatever. He's just like there, done, cool, moving on.
Fair enough.
Right.
Okay.
And then he finds out that like he technically like got all of Krakoa, but not any of the wealth that went with it. And so he's mad. And then he tries to go and contact Mother Righteous, ends up getting expelled, I believe, from the Hellfire Club. Like, he's just, it all goes down
Good
for him, right? Which is awesome. I'm like, no, good. Yeah, you suck. I hate you.
Right.
Like, that's my notes here. It's like, you're literally the worst. Emma gives him a really hard time. I love that because we're dealing with Hellfire stuff, she appears exactly how you imagine her to look, with like Hellfire garb, you know, the whole cloak
White
with
Queen.
like, yep, whole thing there. And she's like, yeah, no, good. Yeah, I'm glad this is all happening to you, you know? Because like, you know, you could have been really super rich if you just stuck with us.
Yeah.
But, like, I love this line because she's like, I did it for the children and you did it for the sense. And he's like, that's fine, because my real power actually is like making sense into billions. So here I go.
Okay, good luck. See you later.
Watch out, everybody. Here comes me. And so
hey, you know, now that you're a human, can we kill you?
Well, I mean, yeah. I mean, you could kill him anytime.
There's no Krakoa, so there's no laws, just like Kate said.
Right. He's not part of it anymore. Like, even if there was a Krakoa, it wouldn't matter. He's a jerk.
Yeah.
But we get like a page that like lays out his plan, you know, his like steps 1 through 4 and profit. You know, and it involves like making sure, like, okay, there's no one else on Krakoa, that the Stark Sentinel perimeter is secure, that he makes sure he gets the external gate to give to Selene, because that's important to keep her happy, make her happy, make Selene happy at all times. I'm like, okay, sure, right. I mean, listen, she's a really great drawing. But also that like Krakoa is in like a hibernation state right now, which I was like, that's a really great thing to make sure we make known, right?
Yeah.
Like, to understand that Krakoa is in hibernation, because it's like, theoretically, like, it's kind of under attack. There's like this perimeter, so why isn't Krakoa fighting back?
Yeah, like, what's the point of having like a living island that might be able to defend itself if it's not going to do anything?
But it's like hibernating right now, and Charles like, I got to keep it that way. It took Doug. We don't know where that is. We can't really communicate with it. We just need to make sure it stays asleep, and then I'm going to mine the hell out of it. And occasionally I'll bring a sacrifice because Krakoa needs its energy or whatever. But like, trust me, this is going to work out really, really great for me. Like, smash cut to like X weeks later, and it has not worked out for him even remotely. Good. And you know, there's like there's a soldier on board, you know, one of his mercenaries, security force, whatever. And he's like, listen, every time we send someone to that island, there's monsters there. He's like, I don't appreciate that. Celine's there too. They're like, I don't appreciate you using the word monsters for mutants. He's like, no, I mean monsters. I don't mean mutants. I know what a mutant is. I don't like them, but I know what they are. Yeah. I mean monsters, like scary teeth, big, rip your face off monsters. And so immediately, if you read this book, you're like, so it's Charles. Got it.
Right. He's making them see monsters. Okay.
Exactly. And that's what's going on. Like, he's on the island, and as much as I love all the Shaw stuff because it's like juicy, because I hate Shaw and I hate his betrayal, but I love to watch it, and I love to watch his like hopeful fall as well. For me, the real star of this issue is the internal monologue and thoughts of Xavier as he's, you know, we go through the night again, like we see a little bit of the highlights. On the off chance you didn't read Hellfire Gala, why is Charles here and why is he so upset? Because like, he killed all of mutantdom in his opinion, right? And I love the fact that I believe this issue is called Sympathy for the Scarlet Witch.
Oh.
And I love that.
That's funny.
It's really like, that's just like a little touch. If you didn't catch that, guys, it's just such a nice touch, because obviously that's where Charles is right now. He's like, I just no more mutant them by shoving them through the gates. I made them leave. I killed them. Yeah. Right. There's like a handful of them left, and it's all my fault. So he's protecting Krakoa because he's just like, I will not allow anyone on this island who killed like my mutants, my children. No, that's not going to happen. Emma tries to reach out to them. She's like, hey, Charles, I'm not going to tell you where I am in case anyone's listening that shouldn't be, but I'm like the White Queen, and I don't usually care about this. I'm worried about you, man. I'm a little concerned about you. Like, maybe, you know, you should just, you know, just come with us, relax for a minute. Like, we don't know that they're gone. You know, Reed, Stark, we're all working together trying to figure out where they are. We don't know for sure. And he's just like, leave me alone.
Right.
I killed them.
Well, I don't want to go deal with Reed because like I removed information from his head and he's like mad about it.
Sure.
But no, it's true. He's just, it's self-imposed isolation. He's like, I belong here.
Right. Exactly. I belong here. I don't want to deal with Reed too, because every time like he, shows up, and then they also mentioned like T'Challa's there, and it's just like, well, we're almost becoming the Illuminati at this point. Like that never goes well.
You know what, buddy? Like you could use them right now.
You could. They'll bring that up, but I really like. He's like, no, we're not doing that. One of the last panels we see of him in this issue is him just standing on the beach, just repeating like no more, no more, no more. And I'm like, that, like, it's just, this is so well written. It's like poetry, it really is. I did not expect, though, to immediately find out that the mutants are not all dead. We don't know where they are. Well, it says they're nowhere, no when.
Okay.
And Exodus is there, and he's there with Hope. Destiny's there as well. She's freaking out. She's like, I can't see. And they're like, and Hope's like, well, you're blind. So, and she's like, no, like, I can't see the future.
Right.
Like, I can't see anything. Where's Mystique? Where's my wife?
Yeah.
And Exodus is like, there's 250,000 minds here, and none of them are Mystique. Now, don't forget, during the Hellfire Gala, it looks like as though she, like, ended up running and falling, dashed upon the rocks, but no body, no death, is my opinion. I hold true to that. So we had this like moment of like straight up sort of like Christian storytelling here in a way, where Exodus is in the desert. There's 250,000 mutants in front of him. He stands up. He's wearing his Hellfire Gala costume, his outfit, which has like a little bit of a halo around him, like this gold.
Man.
And he's standing up before them, and he's like, listen to me, my like mutants, like, we're gonna go through the desert together, and it's gonna be fine. And Hope's like, how do you know? And she's like, he's like, because I have faith. And they're just like walking, soldiering forth. And we get like a little excerpt from the Book of Exodus. It's just, this is such a great issue, where it's like, hey, it's almost like a little like, like sort of epilogue to Hellfire Gala, where it's like, what happened with the mutants, what's going on with Xavier. We touch base with Shaw, we touch base a little bit with Emma, who's like running that sort of like resistance thing. Gillen's just freaking like killing it with this issue for sure. Then at the end, though, we get like a list of like, hey, follow the fall, including Children of the Vault, which means 100%. We're gonna talk about that next time around. And then there's a few other books on there, one of which I'll talk about later, I guess, that I don't quite understand just yet why it's on there.
I think it's because they thought people weren't going to buy it.
Really? Do you know which one I'm talking about?
Is it Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance?
Yes. Yeah. No, it is. It is 100% that issue, because I read that issue this week as well, because I saw it on there, and obviously I was going to read it anyway, but I saw it on there, and I was like, let's get in on this. Why is this on the list? Why is this part of Follow the Fall? So obviously I read it. Ben Percy's writing it, and it's a really good issue, and I really enjoyed the story, and I don't see the connection.
There isn't one. Yeah, it was just lies.
Especially because of the fact that in the back of it, it has its own list of books. To follow this storyline.
Yeah. Which is not the Fall of X.
Not necessarily, right? Like, I'm not sure where this begins. By the way, this one's called Sympathy for the Devil. So I had a lot of sympathy this week.
Yeah, sympathy for Scarlet Witch, sympathy for the Devil.
Yeah. But again, like, if you read this expecting something right now, at least with issue Alpha, because it is an issue Alpha.
So is there going to be like a mini series, or are there going to be other books associated with it? Like, does it have a reading order?
Yeah, no, it does have a reading order. It's one of those ones where it jumps around, where it's not going to just be a Wolverine Ghost Rider title series or mini series. It is technically a mini series, but the next issue, if you want to keep reading, this will be Ghost Rider 17, followed by Wolverine 36, which maybe that's why it's part of it. Maybe somehow when he does Wolverine 36, he'll tie it back around. And then we'll finish off with Ghost Rider Wolverine Weapons of Vengeance Omega #1, because we love our alphas and our omegas, but it's only 4 issues.
Not a big commitment.
Not a huge commitment. But I don't understand why in the back of Immortal X-Men it is listed in the Follow the Fall of X. I just don't get it. I feel like that's really doing this book a disservice. Obviously, maybe it did help to boost its sales, but it's not going to make any fans out of it if you're reading this expecting to see what Wolverine's doing during the Fall of X. Like, if you were reading this, be like, what's Wolverine up to? I thought he was chasing Beast down. I thought he was still working on finding those last Wolverines that are out there. Like, or
they did that already. That's over.
But it's just not going to help this book in the long run. It could have boosted the like issue 1 or alpha of this book.
Right.
But no one's going to like jump to Ghost Rider number 17 because of it. I mean, maybe a few people will, but more or less you're going to make people just go like, okay, cool. I'm not going to read any of the other books that are here because I don't know if they're going to be part of the Fall of X.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a really strange decision. But regardless of that, as a Wolverine Ghost Rider story, completely divorced from Fall of X, set in a other time, it's fun. You know, we've seen Wolverine and Ghost Rider, other Ghost Riders work together before. They're a solid combo. You know, they can both be dark, they can both be gritty. Wolverine is, you know, no stranger to mysticism, to, you know, supernatural happenings.
Or flaming metal.
He's had his hot claws for
hot
sure.
Claws. Does he get hot claws in this?
No, thank God.
It's never say never.
Right? No, listen, who knows? Maybe Mephisto will show up and ask if he wants to have hot claws this time around.
Again.
By the way, the art in this, like I said, it was written by Ben Percy, art by Jeff Shaw, which I was like, oh my gosh, Jeff Shaw, who's done lots of work, but I know him mostly from God Country. He's a perfect fit for this book. So good.
What a cool idea.
So good. Definitely still a different feel from it, but just really good, great art. I don't know if it has to do with the inker or the colorist, but like just had a different feel, but really great looking book. That starts in the past because we're gonna do a let's go back. We gotta set up a little bit like of a like history in order to go forward, where it's just like there was this kid who's like an orphan. He was in an orphanage, and his caseworker's like, hey, weird things happen around you. Kids don't like really want to hang around you. You haven't worked in families. You always are returned. I get the feeling that you might be a mutant. So I'm going to take you out to Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters. I saw Charles Xavier on TV. He is the, you know, authority on mutants, not knowing we're setting up the time period also that this starts in, right? Like the institute still exists. B, people don't know Xavier's a mutant, you know?
Oh, yeah. So we could probably carbon date this.
You can carbon date this one. Wolverine's in his yellow and blue suit. Kitty is in...
It's funny because he's wearing the other suit on the cover.
I know. Well, we're in the past, I guess. I don't know. Or they just wanted to draw something else. Kurt's there. You know, Kitty is there as well. She pops in for a quick second. So it's like, this is where we are. This is the time period. Xavier's like, hey, you know, like... He gets shown like a picture the kid drew, and he's like, "Oh no, I bet you think I'm weird." And he's like, "Not at all, kid. Let me in. Let me like, you know, see what's going on in there." He like gets flung out, and he's like, "Okay, cool. I would totally take this kid, but he's not a mutant.
Oh,
there's something else going on here, and I can, I can try to get you in touch with someone who might be able to help you, but I can't help right now. I'm sorry, right?"
Yeah.
And she's like, cool, you're just like everybody else. Awesome.
Exactly.
Right, let's go, kid. And the kid's like, I don't want to leave. These people seem cool. Like there's a blue guy who's like scary, but like everyone's down. Like this girl walks through walls. Like I want to be, there's a guy with scary claws. I want to be here. I want to be part of this.
There's something about him that just really appeals to me as a
character. It's just, I don't know what it is. I like, you know, like I want him on a shirt. I want an action figure of him. I'm here for it. Right.
Yeah.
So Logan's like, good riddance. Like, that kid smells like sulfur. I'm like, nice touch, right? And he's like, maybe you should have some sympathy for him. We cut, of course, to Johnny. You get like a little backstory there, which I appreciate because Percy's kind of treating this like, what if you're a Wolverine fan? You like my Wolverine, you're coming into this, you don't know much about Ghost Rider. Let me give you a little bit of a set out without doing like a straight up origin for him.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, we see him in like the Coliseum. You know, it's the Crash Simpson stunt cycle, but Crash isn't here. You know, Roxanne is there and you know, he's gonna go on with the show. She's like, but only go on if you really believe in it. He's gonna jump the buses, whole thing, right? Falls. We see clearly like an image of Mephisto. It's all wordless, this part, right? You know, we see him crunch, whatever, awesome, done, right? Bam. Cool. Origin story. You get the vibe, right? Like you probably saw the Nicolas Cage movie. You could piece it together from that, right?
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if you don't read Ghost Rider, you can extrapolate if you saw that some information and apply it to this, right? Sure. we see the kid back at the orphanage, and a horror show event occurs, which was hinted at the very beginning of the book. There's like a little, like, we actually really start in the present, but the bulk of the story takes place in the past for this issue. And the present is Johnny has had a rough time of it recently. If you've been reading Ben Percy's Ghost Rider, had a rough time of it recently. He arrives on the scene of a crime where there's this horrifying tower of bodies. You have to read it to understand what I'm like talking about. Okay. Wolverine shows up. He's like, it's happening again. And then we do a let's go back. So we see the thing from earlier. We're like, oh, wow. Yeah, no, it was happening again. You're right. But this time it's like with children. That's worse.
Yes.
Wolverine is like really on edge. Also, I'm sorry, we also see some of the other team later on, including Angel, and Colossus is there. Storm is there, and she's got like the white hair with like the little black crown that she wore. So again,
cool.
like, we are dating this book.
The
so like when
crown,
the past is they lose power in the Xavier Institute. The boy shows back up because he ran away from the orphanage after whatever scary thing happened that clearly he had nothing to do with, but obviously had everything to do with.
Totally.
Wolverine like goes to get a whole bunch of candles, which is like a really funny image of Wolverine heading up from the basement with just literally an armful of like tiny taper style candles of all different colors.
Awesome.
Right. The X-Men have been attacked, and there is a demon there, which to me looks like a really crazy version of the demon bear.
Oh.
And I'm like, are we going to tie this in?
I hope so. That'd be cool.
Because that was a very different style of like demon, sort of. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm going to hold my judgment until we learn more, because we have not learned more. But like, it's a really dope image of Wolverine running at this thing, right? Protecting Charles. I'm just like, I'm here for this, right?
Definitely.
And that's when we see that, like, like it makes a run for it. Charles is like, go after him. You got to help this kid. Wolverine's doing this entire narration of the story. He's talking about how Johnny and he, have similar backstories in a way. Like, we're both like weapons of destruction, and we both had like storied pasts and all this. And he's talking about how he's like, I don't know, the demon and the kid, can they survive without one another? Who knows? But like, I had to go out. And of course, there's the other like iconic imagery for these two characters, and it's motorcycles. Ghost Rider, except for Robbie, often pictured with a motorcycle, and Wolverine is no stranger to them as well, right?
Sure.
So we get like a really dope image of like, it's like a split page where it's the two of them just riding motorcycles as they're both gunning for this demon child bear thing. They sort of face off for a moment, but inevitably Ghost Rider's like, you're not the one I'm looking for tonight, lets him go. And then like we kind of ended up flash forwarding to the future, where we're like, what ended up happening? Like, that kid, they didn't find that kid, presumably, or we're going to get more in between. I don't know how they're going to like pace this story out, but the idea is that the social worker took him in and raised him. And so like now the two of them are back on the trail, and we see him back like in his more current costume, Ghost Rider in his now more current costume, because in the past he's wearing the classic Johnny Blaze kind of like blue stunt rider sort of that whole thing, and now he looks more like the like hybridization Johnny look. So there we have it. I honestly really enjoyed this book, but if you were looking for this issue to tie into Fall of X because it was in that list, it just straight up did. And honestly, I sincerely hope it doesn't, because it really doesn't make any sense for Wolverine to be doing this right now. No. It'd be really, really inappropriate for him to be like, hey, listen, I know Krakoa is a shit show right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know where any of the mutants are, and Beast is still out there, and Orcus has basically just destroyed everything we worked for. But right now, I need to go on a like road trip with my bud Johnny Blaze and hunt down this demon bear thing. That's just what I need to do right now.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really like hoping these two do not end up like it was an oops. They shouldn't have put it in that list. And maybe it was done again for marketing purposes. I don't know, but I kind of hope it was for that, and not that they're going to be like, also in Krakoa.
Yeah, right. He did. Yeah, it's true. All right. Well, I mean,
but it was a great book,
and break.
Again, if you're looking for something that, trust me, like Percy's been writing both of these characters, so he's familiar with the voices that he's set up for them recently.
Mm-hmm.
And he does like a good grizzled Johnny, he does a good grizzled Wolverine. It is nice to see Wolverine not just only like dealing with Beast. And if you set this at a different time, it should be just a fun Ghost Rider Wolverine team up.
That'd be cool. I'm
right?
okay with that.
I like that. I want more of that. I really enjoy those stories. So yeah.
Well, let's talk about Night Terrors, because the third issue involves art with by Giuseppe Camuncoli, Stefano Nessi, and it's of course written by Joshua Williamson, basically the architect of the DC universe right now. This is just paying off what we had before. We get to see Sandman team up with Deadman, who is possessing Batman, and how Robin intersects with their plan to recover the Nightmare Stone. Remember the Nightmare Stone? They're still looking for it. And of course, Insomnia is looking for it. And inexplicably, our crew is also looking for it. And I know that they keep saying it's because they think that they can use it to defeat Insomnia, but we also know that Insomnia wants the Nightmare Stone, so I feel like it's probably a bad idea to recover the Nightmare Stone, because it feels like Infinity War, where it's like, oh, let's get all the stones together so that Thanos can take them from us and then use his nefarious weapon. But also this event is only 2 months, so let's wrap it up. So we get that, and they fight, and Deadman does his astral projection thing where he looks into basically, we have been teasing Insomnia's origins over the last 3 issues, and each time Deadman has been able to look into his mind and glean a little more information about Insomnia's origins before Insomnia goes, "Get out of my head," and then he does. Overall the issue is just like, watch Sandman fight cool monster nightmares, watch Robin team up with Deadman, and that's it.
There is, so I'm really trying to divorce myself from the fact that I'm not gonna hide the fact that Damian Wayne is literally my least favorite of the Robins personally. I'm just not I just have no connection to him. They bring up a lot about being his son and how hard it is for him to be a father to him. And I think it was a really good opportunity for someone else of an adult capacity to be
everyone sees him as a brat.
Also he's been a father before.
Right.
And even if it wasn't a genetic relationship, you don't have to have a genetic relationship to someone for someone to be your father.
Yeah.
No,
it's true.
And so I'm really trying to remove that from my thoughts, because it doesn't really, that's a total subjective thing versus an objective opinion of the book.
No, Williamson has a vested interest in making Damian work because he likes Damian.
Yeah,
and he has a book called Batman and Robin coming out that is going to be on sale pretty soon. Final order cutoff is the end of the week, so check it out.
Absolutely. But I realized though, this random team up, it still has that sort of nostalgia feel of just a bunch of really random characters coming together to be the final, the last stop between the end of the world and success. Essentially, it's I don't know. We've seen it before, and usually, again, at least Batman's present. His body is present for that, and usually there are heavier hitters in there, but oftentimes it ends up being this who are these people again? Why are they important? Oh, okay, cool. Let's do it. So I appreciate what Josh is doing in terms of that. He brings back Wesley Dodd. A lot of people, at this point probably don't even know who Wesley Dodd is. So it's kind of cool that he's here. But this one did feel a little decompressed, sort of.
Yeah, this one was more you probably could have skipped this, but we also needed to have Damian meet up with them. But we could have done that as a backup in the Batman Night Terrors issue. And it's just I've really enjoyed every issue that I've read of this series. Both the Night Terrors series and the Night Terror spin-off series. This is the only one where I was I understand it's necessary. This issue is absolutely utilitarian in nature. I needed all the I needed the things in this issue to happen but it didn't really feel
Mhm.
like a big fun comic book that was worth my money. If that makes any sense. Like, I don't think it's bad. I think it's
No.
competently written. The art is, you know how I feel about Cam and Cully, that
Yeah.
it's like, oh, look at all the same square faces, but
I like the art of this.
I loathe him.
Okay.
But I also think that Kevin Cully can draw inorganic matter,
Mhm.
buildings, clothing.
Mhm.
He can draw everything but the human face,
Yeah, I get you.
unless it's the same human face.
No, I get you, but I like it just because of its stylistic nature. I don't know. There's something about it that really fits for
No,
me.
it's well executed. Like
Mm.
it has a good like, shot composition, if you can call it that. But yeah, but it was like you read it and you went, I didn't even feel like I really read that.
I mean, we do get the like dead man Batman suit.
Yeah, that was kind of neat. I was like, no, that's cute. That'll be a McFarlane figure. Outside of that, I'm like, it's an
No,
issue.
like I think in terms of it being part of the trade, it's fine. Like it'll have a decent flow to it, but I could
Yes.
definitely see people being like, okay, this issue was just whatever.
Yep, it was
It's just,
whatever.
I guess it's like I could feel the fact that Josh does have a vested interest in making sure that Damian is lined up for whatever is coming next, which is, listen, that's how this works. And a lot of
Yep.
times in a lot of stories that you have read and are beloved and that you like, that I love, with characters that I have a stronger connection to, that happens. And I'm fine with it, right?
You're
Because
right.
it's a character I like. And, I'm like, oh, sure, they could have picked any character. The fact is, it's like, sure, you can make it work that Damian can resist this, right? But there are a lot of magic users in the DC universe that it also could have worked for.
Totally.
You
Yeah,
know what I
exactly.
mean?
No, for me, this felt the most like Josh is writing too many books. That's what this felt
Mm,
like. Where it's like,
interesting.
oh, this is really competently written, and I also couldn't care less about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, out of all the things that Josh is writing right now,
Yeah.
this is one of them. That's how
Yeah.
it felt. It was just
That's
like
fair.
it's just, and it's necessary. But it is utilitarian. It's brushing your teeth. That's what
Yeah,
this
yeah,
issue
yeah,
is.
yeah.
It's like you need to do it, and sometimes it doesn't even feel like a chore.
Right.
But it's not fun. You're not gonna have fun reading this issue. It's just something that has to happen.
What's funny is like the fun for me is I actually really, really enjoy Josh's Dead Man.
Yeah,
Like
that's the fun part.
I'm like really enjoying his voice for Boston.
Yeah, I like
Boston,
Sandman in this too, where he's like,
he's
just kind of
not
like,
bad.
what?
I like that he's there because it makes people possibly go and look to find and learn more about him, but he's
Yeah,
not doing a whole lot in
no,
it
no,
right
he's in
now.
it.
Like he's in it, he's there to help them out essentially. But like his other than his sleep gas, his skill
No,
set hasn't really come up a whole lot. But you know what? Like maybe just having him there and maybe getting a few people to go back and read some of the old like mystery theater issues is
yeah,
enough.
sometimes.
But like yeah, like again, like the fun is those opening like pages. I really like those opening pages where it's just Boston talking about things, right?
Oh yeah, that's fun.
It's just it's good stuff. We end up at the circus, and I'm not gonna lie. Initially, I was like,
I was like, oh my god, the Nightmare Stone is in Dick Grayson. Like,
"Well, oh no!" I thought it was the tent from Batman Dead Man.
oh,
I was like,
yeah,
"Oh my god, it's the tent, the clown."
yeah.
No, okay,
No,
fair.
I told you. I asked him about it directly. He said
I
the clown is
know,
not in it.
I know, but still.
Yeah.
And again, listen, like there are people out there who love Damien. Like, there is a fan base for literally every Robin, and I think that's spectacular. I
Yep.
really do. I think that's absolutely incredible, and it just proves the strength of the Bat family and the Bat marketing department.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you have Boston Brand there who died in the circus, and you
Mhm.
have a literal Robin whose parents
Whose parents died in the circus, and you're
yeah,
not
and it's
gonna.
like they don't get a chance in this book because it's just that's not the Robin we need right
That's
now,
not
and
the
I
Robin I'm
totally
dealing with.
get it. I totally get it.
Yeah. No, it's a real shame.
It is a real shame, but you know what? Like for people who love Damien, like he's getting a lot more love. Obviously you're about to enter into a time period where there's going to be an entire book dedicated to them, written by someone who has a lot of reverence for that character. So like that's
Mhm.
awesome. Um, But I really just didn't like the insinuation of the strength of that bond.
No, I know.
Like he's like that. You're his son, and it's like Batman has many sons.
Oh, I know. No, for this, I understand what they're doing because it comes up in the show that's coming out tomorrow. But like,
okay,
it's just it's kind of a cute moment. It's a way for Deadman to kind of like allow Damian to be a kid, where he's like, "Hey, you're Batman's kid. Isn't that cool?
Yeah.
Don't you feel good? Like, enjoy that moment for a minute. Like,
right.
How many kids can say Batman's their dad? As it turns out, about 11. But
Dick, Jason, sort of Jason.
Like,
Jason wasn't around for a whole lot. Tim.
Nah, but he was, Dick, Jason, Tim.
Like,
Cassie, Stephanie.
Yeah.
Anyway. Yeah, man. Speaking of other things, Ken Barbie says, had a pitch to fix a non-aged Spider-Man that is believable, start a new timeline starting at the end of the Revelation story after Ben Reilly's death. Peter's 45 years old at that point. Spider-Man tracks down his baby, Norman Stoll, and not only finds his baby, but a baby Miles as well. And Peter and MJ have to raise both and start an aged hero timeline. I mean, yeah, like you could write that. Feel free. Keep it. Hang on to it. If you ever get a chance to work for Marvel, you can always pitch it. But like, don't forget the life story exists where you can see Spider-Man be a mentor to Miles, and Spider-Man is 45 and then 65. Like, it's they age. There's also the upcoming rage bait Spider-Man Reign 2 coming out. So there's plenty of stories of Spider-Man getting old. Check them out. But yeah, man, the last issue. Oh, anything else you read, Tiffany?
Oh no, like I said, I just wanted to touch on a couple of things this week.
Yeah. Well, then I'll wrap up with Amazing Spider-Man number 31 from Zeb Wells and Company. This is, of course, a special wedding issue. Oh boy.
We love those.
Technically, Amazing Spider-Man number 925 or legacy numbered. Who knows? I do know that, like, internally they do pay close attention to legacy numbering. So anyway,
okay.
This is Pete and Randy Robertson go out on a kind of like bachelor party. We watch Randy's fiance, who's of course the Beetle. She has her own bachelorette party. It's rowdy. All the girls that she works with in the syndicate get together. They have a great time. They paint the town red. They become supervillains. They beat people up. They invite Felicia Hardy. She comes too. She is basically talked into dumping Peter, which she does. I didn't even really know they were dating. They were kind of like indicating that they were dating, but like I didn't really get any fun dates out of them, so I didn't really feel anything when they broke up. Especially because like we just had an event where like Mary Jane and Pete were like explained why they weren't dating anymore. So like the Black Cat thing was always kind of pushed to the side. Who cares? The issue itself is like, oh, look, this is kind of like classic Spider-Man. And in as much as like we see that, there's a group of bad guy crime related Spider-Man villains who all have an interest in seeing Tombstone get taken down or not, whatever. Like there's a subplot about like Tombstone taking over the Kingpin. There's rumors the Kingpin's coming back. Obviously he's not, because he's in the X-Men books and he's not coming back to this. But well,
I should have mentioned that the reason Shaw got kicked out of the Hellfire Club was because Wilson Fisk acquired it.
I heard about that,
which I was like, he's the new White King,
which I love.
So he could be the White Kingpin of crime. Which is
great.
Like, I don't know how I feel about that name, but
I love it. No, it's great. There's some nice character building in this issue. Like Peter comes across as a big loser because Zeb Wells is plugged into like how people feel about like how Peter is portrayed in the series. Basically Randy and Peter go to like some crappy bar and like hang out for a minute. Randy's like, so none of my friends came to this. It's just you and me at my bachelor party. And he's like, yeah, well, I forgot to invite people. And then when I did, they couldn't make it. And he's like, wow, you're a major piece of shit. And then leaves and then calls his friends. And his friends are like, no, Peter invited us months ago, but you're dating the wrong person. And we think it's a really bad mistake. So we don't want to help endorse that.
Oh.
And it's funny because like, they're better friends than Peter because Randy is making a mistake and he shouldn't be dating this person.
But Peter's also a good person because he took the blame instead of trying to make his friend
feel bad, exactly. So like it's real as opposed to like, relatable. But so that was cute that Randy's like, wow, you're a really good friend, and I'm like, yeah, it's nice. Then of course Felicia's like, yeah, it's over, Pete, and he's like, yeah, okay. Like he's sad, but like who could care less? We get to the wedding, and it's a comic book wedding, and I thought like it was funny that like the trope lately has been that like they don't break up the wedding. That like, oh no, it's a superhero wedding. It's not, but like it's super villain wedding. So I guess like whatever. But there's this trope, like when Scott and Jean got married, like the Wolverine made sure that no one would ruin the wedding by like hiding in the woods. Also, you couldn't watch them get married because he would be sad. But like and he wrote like this. I love that issue because like he wrote like this letter. You were on that episode, but like of back issues where he wrote this letter and he has perfect penmanship.
Yeah,
because he's 1,000 years old.
Yeah.
But anyway, the trope had been if it's a superhero wedding or a wedding in a comic book, it gets interrupted by a superhero fight. Then the new trope was you think that's going to happen, but then it doesn't happen. But it happens in this. And like, so it gets broken up before they get married. So they don't get married because we need to make sure that Randy is single and awesome because he's, that's more relatable. I'm like what is this? Like, why even there should be like a mandate in Marvel Comics where like, just don't have wedding issues anymore. Like, just don't do that because because no one's allowed to get married for any length of time. True. What, except for like Gambit Rogue?
Yeah. I think they got married not in their issue.
No, they got married in the other issue where Kitty and Colossus are going to get married.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't work out. And they're like, well, we might as well get married.
Yeah.
So you have to you got to sneak it in so that the comic book gods don't see you.
Yeah. In this issue, we also have like it's funny because like the main story is this John Romita Jr. drawn, Zeb Wells written wedding issue, which has like parts. Like it's 2 parts. They waste 2 full pages on like part 1. I'm like, it's a regularly sized issue. How is it part 1? Like, prelude, your presence is requested. I'm like, that was a full page that you could have put art on, but you didn't do that. You just filled it with text. That sucks. That sucks too much. Like then chapter 2, the big day. Like no art, just a gradient and some text. Like, cool. I'm glad I spent however much on this issue. But then like the issue just kind of is over, and you're like, oh, okay. And like Hammerhead blows up Madame Mask's car. You know what I mean? Like power plays are happening. Like there's a new character. He rides a motorcycle, and the motorcycle rides itself. Oh, like it just things are happening, and you're just kind of like, I don't know, like I don't care.
Well,
at all.
Right.
And it's not like it's not.
I guess
it's not
just
because of cynicism. It's just kind of like stupid.
I guess it's just supposed to be fun. I mean, like recently, Clea's mom tried to get married, and like obviously there was like a whole bunch of villains there, and it was like, well, I mean, it's probably not going to happen because you can't.
But they were going to get married in the dark dimension, right? Like,
right, but like I'm just saying, like obviously you put that many villains in a room, something's going to happen, and then something totally different happened.
Right. Well, see, and that's the idea, like something different. Like it's not the thing you think is going to happen, but it is. And it's just like, okay, it's just, oh well. So that happens, right? And then like. So Randy doesn't get married, and he leaves his wife or his fiance just like standing there, and because like John Romita Jr. is like not at the top of his game anymore, her expression is just kind of like she looks like she's a mannequin. So I don't know what I'm supposed to feel or how she feels in this moment.
Maybe she doesn't know how to feel.
Maybe she doesn't, but like I think we should probably have some idea like what's happening. But then we spend another issue or another full page of no art, where instead Nick Lowe, the editor, like inserts himself into the book and explains like all his ideas and what he wanted to see in this issue. And it's like, that's not really your space. Like, you're an editor. Your job is to let the artists and writers tell their story, not to like take center stage in issues that don't really matter, but okay, here we go. So then like we just the issue just like stops, and then we go to like a completely different issue where Spider-Man is with Kamala Khan, and he's like, so you died in my book, but you're back. She's like, yes, and I'm on the X-Men now. And I'm like, no, you're not.
What? No, she's not.
But she is. She's wearing an X-Men uniform, and she's on the X-Men, and she says it 3 times. So Peter takes his mask off and shows her who he is, and she's like,
she's not wearing she's not wearing
she's
her.
wearing an X-Men uniform. She's wearing her Kamala Khan X-Men uniform.
Trying to recall if she has anything like that now that she's because remember she's working with Emma.
Yeah,
I can't remember what she's wearing there.
Right, in that.
So she might just be calling it the X-Men. Like, you could make an argument that she's just like, no, that is the X-Men.
Well, there's a moment where she says, don't forget I'm a member of the X-Men. And they put the X-Men logo in there as the, instead of her saying X-Men.
Right.
It's also, this could also take place at any point in time.
Sure.
Like, this could be like months afterwards. Like, it doesn't really matter. The point is we're supposed to like feel, this is essentially an apology short story about like killing her in a Spider-Man book.
Mm-hmm.
And I think also it's like a little indication like the X-Men are going to be bigger in the Marvel universe. Like they're going to be in Spider-Man. They're going to be in Captain America. Like they're going to be all over the place.
Hang on. Let me ask you, does the suit have like, it looks like it's the dress, but it's blue and yellow with the, she's wearing that.
It's blue and yellow, and it's got like the scarf, and she's got like X's on her.
She's got like, she's got a belt. Like she's got a belt.
Yeah, she's got an X-Men belt. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that is actually currently happening.
Okay.
But like I don't know if we're really calling it the X-Men, but it is it's Sync and Talon and Emma, leading this like resistance essentially. So she is a part of that. And it could just be that she's like, I'm going to call it that because I got invited anyway. So whatever. So technically, yes, that is happening.
Right.
Technically.
So it's, it's divorced from anything. It's like a cute little scene.
Okay.
Though I don't really know, like, been reading a lot of Spider-Man comics. There's not really much of a rapport between these two characters, although they did have like a mind swap one time. But like, just okay, like all right, we're firmly establishing this character. Then there's another like mini story where Doc Ock is like going over a plan, but in the super villain bar, and he acts like annoyed that he has to be there. Like it just reading Spider-Man is a real exercise in frustration because like it's just like things will happen and you're like, okay, you know what? I'm gonna spend some money on Spider-Man. Like we got out of the Mary Jane thing, where let's just read this. Let's just read this Spider-Man issue. Let's just see how it goes. And like Doc Ock is like, I'm missing information that I need in order to be effective. What am I gonna do? Like how? But it's like, and this would take place in like a warehouse, but like he needs to talk to people. Unless he's just going to monologue, but it's written by Dan Slott, so like he could do either. It doesn't really matter. But so he's in the bar, but it's like, why are you in a bar?
Wait, did if you are annoyed? By Dan Slott?
Yeah, Dan Slott wrote this one so that he could like establish that. Because it's like 3 pages, and the idea is it is a prelude to his Superior Spider-Man relaunch.
Okay.
It's also drawn by Bagley, but it's really weird because Bagley's drawing it like Ed McGuinness, and I'm like, what? Like, it's just the Spider-Man comics delivering more per page. Like, so you're like, okay, then there's that one. Then there's the like, hey, I know that like you guys love Paul, so let's do a whole issue about Mary Jane and Paul being depressed as parents who have lost their children. And we'll use that as an excuse to make her into a superhero. So if like Felicia shows up, she's like, hey, I just dumped your ex-husband. Listen, let's hang out in our underwear and you can put on a superhero costume that I got for you so you could be a superhero. And it's just like regardless of how you feel about Mary Jane becoming a superhero, which is, in my opinion, repugnant, disgusting, terrible, and a complete departure of the character. It's a betrayal of the character in every respect. It would be like if we made J. Jonah Jameson or Robbie Robertson or like, Glory Grant or Betty Brant or any other characters that end with Ant into superheroes. But we're doing this just to firmly establish, like, well, one day Mary Jane can make out with like Cyclops or something.
It's interesting. Well, go ahead.
But it's just like, it's nothing. It's just, you know what I mean? Like, it's nothing. It's just things that are happening where you're like, it would be like, there's no joy. There's only agenda. There's nothing. There's a whole segment where they're like, Spider-Woman's back and she wants to know where her baby is. And it's like, if you love Spider-Woman, you might really appreciate this mini story. Because that is a good question. Where the hell did the baby go? But I don't care. And it's just a teaser to sell you a Spider-Man or a Spider-Woman.
Right. And how many pages was this issue?
I don't recall.
Oh, okay. I just wasn't sure if it
quite a few.
Okay, good. All right. That's
there's a whole story about like Bailey. There's a whole issue about there's a whole story about like a guy who likes to be saved by superheroes.
Okay.
Like, so he it's about like obsession and like fandom, and so like he wants to be saved by Spider-Man, so he obsesses over Spider-Man. Johnny Storm teaches him a lesson, and there's a whole issue about Spider-Man dealing with a goose, and you're just like, what the fuck is happening?
So it seems like a lot of this is like just a marketing book to set up new things.
Other books,
that are coming out.
Yeah, it's like a previews catalog, but like interspersed with webtoons. And and then there's one like issue where I'm like, huh, what? And it was like, did you know? And honestly, I don't. Like, maybe I missed a few issues here or there, but like, so Queen Goblin, who was Dr. Ashley Kafka, she's alive, and she's banging Kraven.
I can see that.
Right. And the way it's portrayed, I'm like, sure. And okay. And then you see, like, once that story ends, they show you the cover of the next issue, and it's the two of them, Kraven and Queen Goblin, fighting Spider-Man. And you're like, oh, so you did that so that you could save yourself some pages in the next issue explaining why the hell these two are even in the same room together.
Sure.
Like, it's all like this whole thing is just like a catalog. Like, you know what I mean? I'm not like reading I'm very aware that I'm reading a book made by like a mega conglomerate. You know what I mean? Like I'm not like dazzled or tricked into thinking that I'm reading narratives here. I'm just looking at a catalog, and I'm like, I'm not your demographic. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't want to be sold to. It would be like if I went to a restaurant and I said, I'm going to have a burger with the following toppings. And then they gave it to me. And before they gave it to me, they told me about other things on their menu that I should buy. And then I said, yeah, that's fine. I'm going to buy the burger. I'm going to buy the burger from you. And they said, here's your burger and the menu. I'm like, I don't need the menu. I already bought the burger.
No, hang on. It's not in the menu. It's like 7 samples of like different things that they have. They're like, you can't have the burger until you try all of these.
You eat all these other things that are on the menu, but only this much of it. So none of it together would ever like slake your appetite. And also might make you too full to eat the burger. Yeah, it's that. I hate this so much. And it's not that I hate Amazing Spider. I hate what Marvel thinks this book should be.
That's fair. I mean, it feels like they're definitely trying to like use it to like be like, okay, the weight of the Marvel universe or like other books is on the weight of Spider-Man, so we'll use it to launch a bunch of other things because since it's selling well, that means all these other things will sell well because like Bat Family books sell well, so it'll all work out because it's spun out of this one issue or these other issues. In fact, like I know the like Mary Jane Felicia, them teaming up that or like, having animosity. That's a historical thing. That has happened. It is a known thing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's kind of the point where now they're not like they don't even care about the animosity. Like now they're friends.
Right, but they've had history together for quite a while. So I know it's not what I'm about to say because they have had history, but sometimes it feels like right now what they're trying to do is be like, hey, DC has like Harley and Ivy. Can we do that art over here?
Yeah, like because the sooner we get Mary Jane into a costume, the sooner we can do like cover art of the two of them like making out.
Which is like if you make that narratively work, I really don't care. But it's like I don't like the idea of like them going like, can we? I know like we narratively haven't worked anything out, but can we just make something happen?
Yeah, it's
or like they just want to create like even before Harley and Ivy were in a relationship, like there were
drawings of it
they were
by the
buddies. They
guy.
did things, like it was, Harley's in a toxic relationship. Ivy's like, you got to knock it. You know what I mean? Like regardless of relationship, the two of them have been hanging out, doing things together.
They have history.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's just terrible. Reading Spider-Man is just an exercise in futility. But it's a book that exists, and you can overpay for it if you want.
Ooh.
There are some books out this week that you should check out that we think you'll enjoy. I don't know if you.
Yeah, but why don't you go first?
I'll be happy to. Let me actually, before I do that, drop a link to these in the private chat.
I got it.
That. Oh, great!
I'm here already. Well, because I was always here to begin with.
I have to recommend Daredevil number 14 from Chip Zdarsky and Marco Cicchetto. It's the end of that series and the end of me reading Daredevil. So that's that. So this will be my last Daredevil. We'll see how that goes. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what's going on, but like
just in life or
well, in general, yeah. But like with Zdarsky, the his Batman and his Daredevil over the last like 4 months has been like, you know what I mean? Like, okay. I recognize that this is a competently made comic book, but I am not having a great time reading it anymore.
Okay.
I'm sure it will end with a bang.
Okay.
Batman Superman World's Finest 18, however, is phenomenal. However, normally it's drawn by Dan Mora. Supposedly this one is drawn by Travis Mora. Not Dan Mora, but rather Travis Mora. I'm excited for it anyway. It's Mark Waid doing Batman and Superman. It's a great series.
Okay.
Uncanny Avengers from Jerry Duggan with art by Javier Garron is coming out. I just love the cover. I'm just ready to read this book.
Okay.
I also love Rogue being an Avenger, and I would like for them to erase the uncanny part and just make this the Avengers at this point, because I am not going to read any more Avengers.
When is this happening? I mean, I guess this could be happening now because that cover looks like it's mostly
X-Men. Yeah.
Yeah, and like Cap. It is Fall of X. Then I guess I have to read this too, and it also has the gods thing on there.
Oh yes, and who are the fall or who are the gods?
Yeah,
Jonathan Hickman.
Yeah.
I wonder how Hickman is enjoying putting the Who Are the Gods stuff into X-Men books.
Well, it's just a bonus page of that, so I feel like, I mean, like it's Duggan. He's like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, no, I'm definitely gonna read this. If Duggan's writing this, I mean, really, it's just an X-Men book with Captain America in it. So
yeah,
I'll read it too.
Exactly. I can't in good conscience recommend Night Terror Superman number 2 because I haven't read the first issue. I just didn't get a chance to.
Okay.
And of course, big shout out to the cover of Night Terror's Wonder Woman number 2. I think we talked about this before, but it just looks amazing.
Yes.
Again, I didn't read any of it, but I should. And there's a What If comic, but I'm not going to read that because they didn't have any respect for me in the last time they tried it. So why would I give them my money again?
Okay.
How about you, Tiff? What's some stuff that you're reading?
Yeah, what is some stuff that I'm reading? Ghost Rider number 17 will be coming out this week. This is part 2 of Weapons of Vengeance. That's what they're calling this sort of event thing. You know, the Ben Percy Ghost Rider Wolverine story.
Yeah,
Weapons of Vengeance. So this will be part 2. I believe it's the same creative team, so it's going to be Percy and Shaw.
Yes, I heard that Shaw is going to draw the whole thing, so
which is great, which is awesome. That's great. Not that I don't like the guy who's working on the regular Ghost Rider book, but this makes more sense, especially when they collect it and they just call it Weapons of Vengeance. And they can just put it out there. It'll be a lot more smooth, and I think a lot of more people might respond to it. But definitely going to be picking that up. X-Men Red number 14, another Fall of X book. I like the fact that they're putting it up there so that you for sure know. This is Al Ewing, so definitely be checking that out. And because this is all about Arakko and what's going on up there. Obviously, It's like simultaneously, while Krakoa has been like destroyed, Arakko's got its own garbage happening for sure.
Yes, that's true.
So really enjoying that. Dark X-Men will be coming out.
Yes, this is the one that's like the most confusing. I remember when this was like in the previews and we were just like, whoa, what are all these books? This isn't gonna be insane.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's written by Steve Fox. I don't know who the hell that is.
Steve Fox is an editor, or he has been an editor. He edited Department of Truth and a couple of other things. But what? He might He may have also written some stuff too.
I see that he's also connected to World Tree in some way.
Yeah, well, that's another Tynion book.
Oh.
So, I don't know.
I don't like editors
I'm gonna
writing.
give it a shot. I mean, look, this is like what?
I don't like editors jumping fences.
Well, maybe it'll be good. I'm gonna give it a try. We're gonna see. I think he
Okay.
also did write one other thing tied
Yes.
in, but it's admittedly it's not a huge body of work rolling into this. But you know what?
Right.
Maybe it's solid.
Yeah, who knows? I mean,
You know,
like,
let's find out. Let's give it a shot. You
the
know,
reality is, like, the X-Men era right now, it's like no one is writing a book that they don't want to do.
right. So it's like let's give it a try. Like this whole team is a ragtag team. It's like kind of like Hellions is part 2, sort of. You got Malin Pryor in there, Havoc, Gambit will be joining the team. It looks like Archangel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a whole bunch of people. I'm not going to go over the whole team, but it's like, what? If like Emplate's there, why? I don't know. We're gonna find out. You know,
Yeah,
I'm gonna at least give it an
so.
issue. It's part of the Fall of X. You know, I'm gonna read more than one issue, but I'm just gonna say
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Some other things that are coming out that maybe I didn't get a chance to scroll down to just yet. I don't know. There's a What If coming out.
Yes. What if dark?
What if dark? What if dark? It's Moon Knight though, so I kind of maybe want to check that out. You know,
yeah.
I know you just literally got done saying you got burned on a What If.
I did, and this is about the Charlie Houston book,
right?
So that's kind of fun. But again,
I know. I know. I don't know if it's I don't know.
At least Greg Land didn't draw the cover.
That's totally I get you. I get you. If you like Kelly Thompson's work, which kind of do, the Cull is coming out from Image. She's writing a book that they're describing as something as killing the children style horror mixed with the Goonies style adventure, which is like it sounds like a pretty good sell. I've never seen the Goonies, but my understanding is it's a lot of fun. But I like Kelly Thompson's work, so I'm definitely going to pick up the first issue of this and check it out for sure. Also, Marvel's Voices is coming out with an X-Men only book. There's a lot of great writers in here. There's some newer writers maybe you haven't had a chance to check out, but the fact that like there's a couple that so like Greg Pak is going to be coming back, Al Ewing's going to be writing a story in there, might be enough for you to grab it, and then maybe you'll find a new writer that you like in it. So I'd say definitely go check it out. I really like the cover. It's a lot of fun. Just classic bunch of characters looking up at you. You know, you put Julie on the cover, blowing a bubble, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna buy that for sure. I'm just trying to make sure there's nothing else I'm missing here, but there always is, and then I end up picking it up later on. So don't worry about
and we'll do it on the show.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, if you guys are fans of this channel, you should definitely check out the latest episode of All Stars. It comes out tomorrow at noon Eastern Standard Time. Come by, watch All Stars, check it out. You are going to enjoy it. We're going to we're going to get a lot of behind the scenes on the upcoming Batman and Robin series. And we're going to talk about comic books. It's just me and Josh geeking out about comic books. So it's going to be like, it's going to be a lot of like behind the scenes, how that book came to be and what's up with that book and why he's doing it. But also a lot of like deep cut comic book, like geek stuff. Like it's just us really being nerds.
Yeah.
But Tiffany, where can the folks find you?
Well, usually right here in this room.
Where? On twitch.tv/ComicPop?
Yeah, exactly there. On usually Tuesdays and Wednesdays. We'll be back tomorrow, hopefully finishing up Star Wars and then moving on to something else, which initially was definitely going to be God of War, but everybody keeps talking about Baldur's Gate 3, and I do love me a Baldur's Gate, and I'm like not playing it, but I really want to now, so I'm gonna we'll see.
Yes, thank you all so much for being here. Thank you to our super chatters for being the unofficial second host for a time, although our intrepid host did return, and so I'm happy about that. Made the show immediately better, but thank you for being here, Tiffany. And of course, thank you all for supporting the show by watching the show and subscribing and clicking the bell for notifications, and of course, hitting that like button does help us out. And we'll see you guys next time with an all-new episode of Off the Rack. In the meantime, you can always watch more here on this channel, and that's it. So long, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.
Bye.